letting me turn the screen. Sorry if you're watching it, something's going on. I'm not too sure what is going on with my screen. What is going on with this at the minute? Oh, it's not letting me. I'm going to have to do it this way. Hey, sweet. I'm sorry, it's not letting me change it. I've got to do it in portrait for some reason. Oh, it's really messing up. Hey, lovely. I changed the camera. I fiddled with it. Maybe, is it that way? Maybe try. Right, it's not letting me do it that way. Maybe that way. Hold on. No. You know when I'm turning it, you know when I'm doing that, when I'm getting a message saying orientation's locked, is it cutting it off when I do it? Can you still see me when that's going on? Oh, this is a nightmare tonight, isn't it? Ladies, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do it this way. I have to do it this way. It's not, I don't like it being on, I don't like it landscape, portrait at all. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare, but I don't know. It didn't do this earlier. I did a lot. No, did I? I did it portrait earlier. But that's because it was in my hand. So I don't know what's going on. And no one else has come back. So it might just be me, you and Hayley tonight, sis. We see you in portrait and it's normal, honest. Yeah, I'm just used to seeing it in landscape. So then the comments come up kind of on the side. At the minute they're at the bottom. I've got a message held for review there. Oh, it didn't let you put woohoo, Hayley, for some reason. I had to review it first. That's hilarious. Show. Another moderator just handled this. Tiffany, you're a moderator on my channel. Hi, Phil. No, it's okay. Oh, it's always in portrait. Oh, okay. Is it always? For me, it's normally on landscape. So I don't know. I don't know what's happened, but I'm sorry. And for anyone watching this tomorrow, I'm sorry for this whole 3 minutes of malarkey. Something's gone wrong with my phone and everything else. Why are you sorry, Phil? What's happened? What's the matter? Oh no, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure everyone could see me okay in portrait, because I normally film it like, right, okay, I've spent far too long in this portrait landscape business. I really have. So we're gonna start because I'm late. And this one, Tiff told us we don't use the S word. What is S word? I don't know what the S word is. Stupid? Silly? I can't use the other ones. Sorry. Oh, okay. So we don't say sorry. I like that. I like not having to say sorry. But okay, we're gonna start. This one is, I don't know if you've seen the title. It's The Betrayal of Reggie and Carol Sumner. Just, you'll see why it's called what it's called, obviously, as the story goes on. Horrible people out there. There just is awful people out there. So let's start. Okay. So we're going to start with Carol Margaret. That's her name now, but it's Carol Margaret Sumner. And she was born on the 16th of February, 1944. Okay. Now, Carol, don't know much about her early years. Obviously, 44, so there's not a lot written about her early years. But what I do know is she went to Garrett High School in South Carolina. It's an American story. And she met Reggie Sumner. Now, obviously, her name wasn't Sumner then, but I haven't made a note of it, so I'm so sorry. It did have a name earlier as well. This is terrible. Okay, but she met Reggie Sumner in high school, and they just hit it off, and they were the cutest couple. This is in the 60s, very early 60s. Used to walk around high school hand in hand, and just very sweet, very cute couple. Um, and it lasted till leading up to graduation, but after graduation, they both had different ideas of where they saw their lives going. So they did break up. It was very sad, but they went their separate ways. So Reggie, he went into the American Navy, and he done, travel around the world for years, and that's what he did. He did end up getting married. As far as I can gather, it didn't last long. But that was Reggie. Carol, she also got married. Carol got married twice. First marriage obviously ended in divorce. Second marriage wasn't a very nice guy. She had a daughter called Rhonda, I believe, from the first marriage. And yeah, the second guy was just awful, very abusive. And she managed to get away from him. She managed to get away from this man. He wasn't happy about that. And we know in all the a lot of the stories I've done that the most dangerous part for a woman and for a man, although it's not talked about as much for men, but is at the end of a relationship when you're done and that person's lost control. And this is what happened to Carol's husband. He just couldn't take that she got away from him. He didn't like it at all. So the one evening, she's at her apartment. She's moved out. She's moving on with her life. She's at her apartment with her daughter, Rhonda. Rhonda was about 10 years old at the time. And this was actually February the 18th, 1987. And she hears a knock at the door. And when she answers it, it's her ex-husband there. And he proceeds to shoot her on her doorstep 6 times because she dared try and move on with her life when the marriage didn't work. It just awful. But he escapes, drives off, leaves her in a heap on her doorstep in front of her 10-year-old daughter, by the way. He escapes in the car, but he shoots himself. He ends up killing himself. This fella does. Now, Carol, obviously, is in a bad way. She's been shot 6 times, but she does live. But she was blinded in one of her eyes. She was left in an awful lot of pain, which you can imagine. But even after that, now she's had one marriage that's ended in divorce that was just didn't work. Another marriage that she had to run from, and the guy caught up with her and shot her 6 times. But she made her way through it. This was in 1987, and for the next 8 years, she continued to get stronger and try and get her life back on track. And all she wanted to do was be able to, start to work again and get a life, provide for her daughter. That's all she wanted. So in 1995, although she had begun to live her life again, Rhonda would have been 18 at this point. She started feeling really poorly. She started feeling really quite sick. And so she goes to the doctors, and they do blood tests on her. And this ex-husband of hers, who wasn't happy with just shooting her 6 times, although he killed himself, she survived and got on with it. She at the time had a blood transfusion after she was shot. Like I say, 8 years later, she's feeling quite poorly. She goes to the doctor, she has blood tests. It's found that she's got liver cancer. She's got liver cancer because after the shooting and she'd been taken into hospital, the blood transfusion she was given to save her life was tainted with hepatitis C. So it, because no one knew and it went untreated for 8 years, it then progressed and it liver cancer. And she got home and told her daughter, and she was obviously, she's devastated, absolutely devastated. She's just eventually trying to get her life back on track, and all of a sudden she's being told, this is what's happened, and it's still relating to what he'd done to her. And she tells Rhonda, her daughter, it feels like it's killing her, or like he's killing her all over again. Feels like she, she just never got away from him. It just awful, awful. I mean, you survive something like that. You make it through. You get on with your life. A lot of people after going through something like that, I don't know how you would begin to, pick yourself up and start again. But she did. And then to find out that, I mean, how was the blood tainted with hepatitis C? How does that happen? And then obviously, was there no blood tests in between? Did she not have to have doctor checks, which I would have thought you would have checkups after going through something like that. But it wasn't spotted, and like I say, the hepatitis C wasn't spotted. It then progressed into liver cancer. So this poor woman is just not getting a break. It's such a shame. But she didn't let it get her down for long. She really didn't. She just sounds like a really strong woman, and she fights against it. And obviously she has to start taking the medication, and she needs to get herself strong again. But she goes back to work, and she goes into customer service for like a cable company, and she is a fighter, and she starts living her life again. And she's like, I'm not gonna let him try and kill me twice, basically. And that must have been, for her daughter as well, it must have been so, that to see your mum coming from there, and then now she's out living her life, and she's doing well. So in 2000, she's at the call center, and she gets a call come through, and the guy on the other end, she recognizes his voice, and she goes, "Are you Reggie Sumner from what's the high school called now? Garrett High School?" And he goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's Carol. We went out." He remembers her straight away, and they end up, while she's at work, talking for the next hour or so, like about everything they've done since, and what they've been doing with their lives and stuff. She obviously explains what she's been through over the past 10 years, 13, sorry. And yeah, they just hit it off straight away again on the phone. And so they arranged to meet up, and they go on this date. And Rhonda says her mum was so excited. She was so excited, and all she was talking about was how this guy was the most popular lad at school, and he was so good looking. And I mean, they're in their like 50s now, or mid 50s. But she just had this memory of what their relationship was like at high school, and she was so excited. So they go out on their first date, and Ron says when she comes back from the date. Have I already said that? When she comes back, they go on a date, she comes back, like I say, she's very excited. Anyway, the reason it's so fast, by 2001, so I think it's within about 6 months, they get married. They just knew they were meant to be together. And after being separate for all them years, and don't forget, Reggie's been married as well himself. So after all these years, they just weren't going to let each other go again. They weren't going to separate again. And it just seemed like she was finally getting her happy ever after to her own daughter, to her daughter. You know, her daughter was so, so happy for her. She really liked Reggie. They just made a great couple. Even though, obviously, Carol, you know, she has got liver cancer. She is quite poorly. She's got she's got diabetes, type 2, I believe, which is where it has to be monitored every day. Reggie himself, he's also got diabetes. He's quite poorly as well, but he's not as poorly as Carol, so he sort of looks after her, but they look after each other. They just work, and Rhonda's just over the moon for her mum. So once I think they weren't married long, they were married about 6 months, so a year after they met, they decided to retire and move to, now they're in South Carolina, they decided to move to Jacksonville, Florida. And it's their retirement plan. And they're like, you know, it's going to be warm weather, and they're just very exciting. And so, as sad as Rhonda was, because for all these years, especially after the bond she must have got with her mum, when obviously her mum was shot by her ex-husband and everything else, the bond that they'd reached, I'm ever so sorry if anyone's watching this tomorrow, I'm so sorry, because it's in portrait, the comments are catching my eye, so I'm going to try not to get distracted. It's so hard. You think by now, it's my third live, you think by now I'd be like, there. I'm getting there. Okay, so they decided to move to Jacksonville, Florida. And although Rhonda has been looking after her mum for all these years, ever since she saw her mum get shot, like I say, she was happy for them to go. She was so happy for them to go and live their lives and live out the retirement. And, you know, she was like, go on, Mum, you do it, you do you, because you deserve it. And that's what was supposed to happen. You can tell by my tone that this is all going to go very badly wrong. Oh, it's just, why can't it just end there? Can't I just end the story there and they lived happily ever after? You know, it'd be so lovely, wouldn't it? But that's not what you're here for either. So here we go. On July the 8th, 2005, Rhonda, who obviously it's been a couple of years, she visits her mum and Reggie quite often, but she calls her every day. They have that relationship where she phones her mum every single day, see how she is, how's Reggie. You know, they have still a very, very close relationship. So for 2 days, Rhonda can't get through to Carol, and she knows this is really unusual. It's not like her mum, you know, even if her mum doesn't answer, she always calls her back, always. And 2 days is a long time for her not to have heard from her mum. So in the end, Rhonda's had enough, and she drives down to Florida to Reggie and her mum's house. She pulls up. The car's gone from outside, but when she gets to the front door's open. And so she walks in, and straight away she knows something's really not right. First of all, the dog's there, Mikey, their dog that Reggie and Carol dote on. The dog's there on his own. They would never do that. But she's trying to give the benefit of the doubt. She's trying to not get too worried. Then she starts to know, she goes into the kitchen and she notices that there's dinner plates still on the table, the food's half eaten. There's dishes in the sink. Her mum's a very, very tidy woman. She would never go out and leave that. Then what really was the straw that broke the camel's back, her mum's phone, purse, and her mum and Reggie's medication are all on the side. they would never leave without. I mean, the medication for both of them is something they've got to take every day. It's like, you know, it'd be life threatening to not have it. So Rhonda is like, no, 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 enough. Get straight onto the police, reports them as missing straight away. She says, you know, there's something very, very wrong here. So when she calls the police, there's a missing alert, a missing persons alert put out straight away, and it appears on the news because because they're poorly. They're both 61 at this point, so not overly old, but they're very poorly. They're a poorly couple. So it appears on the news, and basically the police managed to find Reggie and Carol's car. Now, remember I said when Rhonda pulled up, the car was missing, and it gets found literally about an hour away in kind of a forest, like a woodland, and it's like it's been left there to be hidden, and the battery's missing out of it, and then the police are like, okay, we've got a problem here, but because the battery is missing, they started to think, wow, has this couple gone off on a drive, the car's broke down, are they somewhere and they just haven't managed to get to a phone or anything else? Rhonda's having none of it. She's like, my mum would never have left her purse. She wouldn't have left the dog. She wouldn't have left the place in the state it was in. She would not have done that. So the police are like, right, okay. They're still umming and ahhing whether Reggie and Carol have just gone on a little, you know, gallivant around, if you like, until the police get a call that afternoon, about 5 hours later, and it's a call from Reggie. And this Reggie is saying, oh, I've seen the reports on the news about me and my wife Carol. Don't worry about us. We're fine. We've just gone for a few days away. And yeah, you can just stop all this, you know, this nonsense of looking for us. And the police are like, the man who's answered the phone, the policeman who's answered the phone, and the calls are being recorded. He knows that this isn't a 61-year-old man he's talking to. It sounds like a lad in his teenage years, early 20s. So he goes, well, is Carol there with you? And Reggie says, yes, Carol's here. So next thing you know, Carol comes on the phone. And so the police officer's like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, everything's fine. You know, we just fancied a few days away. You know, we'll get in contact with, you know, with my family and let them know. But, you know, you can just stop all this nonsense now. You know, we don't want to waste your time. Police officer again knows this isn't a woman in her 60s. This is a young girl, young woman. And police just aren't falling for this at all, not at all. So what they do, because the call recorded, they end the call and they call Rhonda in, and she listens to the voice, and she goes, "That's not Reggie, and that's not my mum. I don't know who those people are, but that's not my mum and Reggie." Can you imagine being that daughter? You know, you've got to your mum's house. You can see everything's not how it should be. And then you hear two people pretending to be your mum and her husband. That I can't even imagine the stomach drop that would give you when you're already losing your mind. Where's my mum? And then you hear these people pretending to be them. You know, oh God, you can't imagine how she must have felt at that moment. Okay, so the police trace that call And they also start looking into the bank statements for any money that's been, have they used their cards? Have any card, has any money gone out of their accounts? Money has been going out of their accounts since they've been reported missing. So, and not just the normal amounts that Carol and Reggie would withdraw, because they didn't withdraw big amounts from their accounts. Thousands have started to be withdrawn from this couple's accounts since they've been reported missing. So the police they know they've got a real problem here. So they obviously see an ATM of where I love how quickly they get it all together, but basically they seen the ATM of where the money was being taken out, and so they got the CCTV footage from that. And sure enough, at the time where this money was taken, where Reggie and Carol's money was being withdrawn, a young fella, you can see the footage online, strutting up, nothing, withdraws himself, $1,000, and off he pops in a car that's also shown on camera. So they're like, right, okay, we've really got a problem now. So what the police think at this point is it's possibly, a kidnapping, like a ransom. They hope that that's what's going on. So when they check the bank statements and everything else, they notice a phone number. No, sorry, how did they do it? It's all very clever, but they spotted a phone number, and they traced this phone number. They spotted that this phone had been calling a right, okay, I got it. Got myself confused there. All right. So when I said they received a call saying, I'm Reggie and I'm Carol, they traced that phone. Sorry, got myself all in a mess then. They traced that phone. The phone was registered. It was registered to, a non-name and a non-address and everything else. It was, it couldn't be traced because it was no one. But they could see the numbers that phone had been calling. And one of the numbers was a car rental place. So they go to the car rental place. They give them this particular phone number that had phoned into the station. And they traced it, and they goes, oh yeah, this car has been rented by them. What car is it? It's the car that was seen on the CCTV of the cocky boy taking money out of the ATM. That's the car that's spotted. That's the car that was rented. So it's all starting to come together now, although they're still not sure. That they know there's bits missing from this, and they can't quite put the finger on what exactly is going on. So the car was fitted, which is fabulous, with a tracker. So the rental company are like, yeah, do you know what? The car's late coming back, but we have got a tracker on it. So they traced the car, and on July the 14th, 2005, so I think it's 6 days after Rhonda notices not parents, but Reggie and Carol have gone missing. The police traced the car to a motel in South Carolina, and when they get there, they're hoping against hope. No, the call wasn't private, Phil. The call that went through to the police. Sorry if you're watching this tomorrow. I'm sorry about this, but the call that went through to the police wasn't private. They didn't even try and withhold the number, so they traced that number. But the phone they traced it to had been, I think it was like a burner phone, I think. So the name that had been used had been like a non-name. I think that was it. But they managed to find phone numbers through the provider. Something along them lines anyway. I think that's how they did it. So, okay, July 14, 2005, police go to the motel where they've tracked the car to, and there's the rental car outside of this motel. And what they're hoping against hope is that Reggie and Carol are going to be in this hotel room, hoping against hope that this is a ransom, it is a kidnapping, and they're going to go in this hotel room and they're going to find them. But when they go into the hotel room, there are two lads there and a girl, and they're looking around, but what is in the hotel room is not just the two lads and a girl. There's no Reggie and Carol, but there are lots of shopping bags. There's brand new laptops in there, brand new clothes, champagne. There's a whole celebration been going on in this room. But what they also find is Reggie Sumner's coin collection, like his beloved coin collection that Rhonda had spotted was missing from the house originally. So they bring them all in. That, you know, they don't charge them, but they do arrest them at the time. They bring them all in. When I say all, let me tell you their names. Right, okay. So the two lads and the girl was Tiffany Cole. She's 24. Michael James Jackson, 23. And Alan Wade, he's 19. And they bring these three into the station. Of course, at first, none of them are talking. They're like, I don't know what you're on about. I don't know what you mean. And then they really put pressure on because they've kept them all separate. None of them know what the other one's saying. Of course, as we know, in these cases, there's always one to crack. And it happened to be Tiffany. Now, Tiffany says, look, okay, you've got me. We did rob them, but that was it. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they've gone. I don't know why they're missing. We did rob from them, but, you know, that's it. That's as far as it went. Yeah. But what she does I say she makes a mistake doing, and you'll realise what I mean by this, is she mentions that there's a fourth accomplice, and his name is Bruce Nixon. He's also 19. And she's like, you know, he was involved in it too. And I don't know what she was thinking, to be honest. You know, these crimes that I do and these stories that I cover, they're never the brightest sparks, are they? They're never quite all there. And she goes, yeah, Bruce Nixon was with us. He joined in the robbery. Okay. So the police go out and they get Bruce Nixon. They bring him in. Wow, the lad's talks like a canary, sings like a canary, whatever the saying is, he does it. And he tells them what really happened. And by the time he'd finished telling them, the police, the whole story, the police that are involved in talking to him are crying. They can't believe what they're hearing. Okay. So Tiffany Cole, now what I've noticed, I'm not going off track here, but what I've noticed, I have noticed that quite a few other platforms and channels have covered this story. And what I've noticed with quite a few of them, they talk about Tiffany Cole quite a lot. No, she's not getting that airtime on my channel. I'm not doing it. I don't want to talk about her. So I'm going to do the very bare minimum about this girl, because really it's not that interesting. It said, oh, she had a really rough life. She had to look after her siblings and she moved around a bit. Now, if there's any more that I've not heard of, and I have researched this story a lot, then okay, bring it to me. Tell me, let me know. But from what I've heard and what I've researched, Tiffany weren't that bad. She didn't have that bad an upbringing. So I'm really not going to go into it on here because there's no real cause in my book at all for the route she's gone down, and the amount of stories I've watched and heard of that concentrate on Tiffany for a long time. No, she doesn't get that. She doesn't get to have you lot listening about her because she doesn't deserve it. Anyway, I'll calm down now. Okay. Tiffany Cole, she'd been neighbours with the Sumners. Okay. Back when they lived in South Carolina. So when Reggie and Carol had met and, reignited their love. Is that the right word? And they'd moved into the home in moved into their home in South Carolina. Next door to them was a gentleman who was quite poorly, and they, even though they weren't in the best of health, rekindled, thank you. Even though they weren't in the best of health, they would look out for him anyway. This gentleman had a daughter called Tiffany Cole, and she came to live with him to look after him. She got to know the Sumners, and they really liked her. They really did. They could see she'd had a hard upbringing. I'm sorry. I know I'm being sarcastic, but I can't. You'll see why in a minute. Yeah, and they really liked her. They really took her in. They treated her as one of their own. And when they decided they were going to move to not South Florida, sorry, Jacksonville, Florida, they said, if ever you're in Florida, it mustn't be far from South Carolina. That's all I can think, because, there's a lot of back and forth, but it doesn't seem they're far away. So they said, if ever you're in Florida, you can come and stay with us at any time. We'd love to have you. We're going to miss you so much. Now, Tiffany didn't even have a car at the time, so they sold her their old car, just for pennies, really. They were just really, really, really kind to, really, really kind to, I'm sorry, someone's really caught my eye on the comments. I'm so sorry for anyone watching it tomorrow. What's up, Britain in the house? Know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hello, Billy. Billa? Hi. Okay. So you've missed half the story, so I'll carry on. You might be able to catch up. So, they sold her this car for pennies, and because they said, even though it was for pennies, they said she could pay in installments. So she got to know where they'd moved to in Florida, because she'd drop off this installment every month to them for this car she'd bought. So they stayed in touch. Anyway, after she paid off the car, they started to, they didn't really see much of each other after that. And it kind of, they're distant. She was quite young. So there we go. That's the end of that. So we think. So anyway, Tiffany meets in 2004, sorry. She meets Michael Jackson. She meets him, Michael James Jackson, obviously. And he's apparently quite a strong character, quite controlling. Again, now, the person who I heard today that he was quite controlling, even though Tiffany is older than him, was the same person who was excusing her slightly and saying what a bad upbringing she's had. And so I don't know, was he controlling? Was this yet another excuse for her behaviour? I don't know. I'm not too sure. But anyway, apparently he was quite controlling. So the one night, they're out, they're clubbing it in Florida, Tiffany and Michael, and they get back. They've had too much to drink. They get back to the friend's house. They're stopping at. Friend's had enough, kicks them out. So they're like, what do we do? Tiffany thinks, I know where we can go. The Sumners. They said if ever I'm in trouble, I can go around there at any point. So she does. She turns up on the Sumners' doorstep early hours with this bloke in tow. And you know what they did? They let them in. They let them in. They sat down with them. They were like, they were so happy to see her because it had been a while since they'd seen her. You know, they open arms, they cooked for them. You know, they were like, are you hungry? Do you need anything? You know, etc. But what happened on this evening while they were talking, Carol and Reggie happened to they didn't even let it slip. They spoke about the fact that the sale for their house back in South Carolina had finally gone through. And they just got near enough $100,000 for the sale. Well, Tiffany and Michael thought it was payday. They're like, oh, wow, here we go. Remember this is the same couple that have helped this girl for years and years and years, who looked after her when her own family really weren't there for her. You know, her dad was quite poorly, so, you know, she needed help. And they let it slip that this money had come through. So the next day, Tiffany and Michael thanked them for their hospitality and off they go. And for the next month, they set in place a plan to rob them, to rob this poor, frail, ill, kind, gentle couple who'd done nothing to anybody and certainly had done nothing to them. So this is when they rope in Alan Wade and obviously Bruce Nixon, because the plan gets put into place that what they're going to do, they're going to get Alan and Bruce to knock on, which they do, and this happens on July the 8th, 2005, and they get Bruce and Alan to knock on the Sumner's door and pretend their car's broke down. And again, although the Sumners were they were right in the middle of dinner, they were like, oh, I don't know. They let them in. They let these two strange lads, two 19-year-old lads, they let them in the house. And the second they let them through the door, that's when it all went wrong. Bruce and Alan basically say, right, you know, get down, we're robbing you. You know, actually, it was Carol who answered the door. Reggie came in from the garage. They start ransacking the house. At this point, they've got duct tape, they've got rope. They tie them up. They duct tape them. Oh my God. They duct tape their mouths. They duct tape their whole head and just left 2 slits for their nose. And then, once they're fully blindfolded as such, they go outside, they bring Michael in and tell him, you know, everything's clear, come in. He comes in, assesses the situation, then starts, you know, robbing everything else if they can get hold of. All they had to do was leave. All they had to do was leave then. But they don't. They then get Reggie and Carol and put them in the boot of Reggie and Carol's car. And then Michael and Alan drive the Sumner's car. And Tiffany, who'd been waiting outside, and Bruce, they follow behind. And where they're heading to is a place that they'd been to a couple of days beforehand. And it was across the state lines into Georgia. And it was it was over the state lines. It was, and apparently it wasn't far away, about 45 minutes away. But they eventually start driving down a very secluded road, again lined with woodlands, like at the edge of a forest. And when they get there, on the ground in the woodland is a hole in the ground that is 6 foot length by 4 foot width, that they dug a couple of days beforehand. Okay. So when they open the boot of the Sumner's car, Reggie and Carol, at this point, apparently the car, well, the boot was nearly 100 degrees because it was obviously summer, it's July. And the duct tape had sweated off their faces. So at that point, they would have seen not only, obviously, Bruce and Alan, they then could see Michael and Tiffany. So at that point, they would have known that they had been betrayed by the girl that they had opened their home to and loved and cared for. So they get the Sumners out the car. Like I say, the duct tape had come off them. So because they were so, they were frail anyway, but because of the heat and obviously the stress of what they'd just been through and everything else, they weren't fighting. They couldn't fight. What fight could they put up against these four? So they get them out of the trunk, like I say. There was no point duct taping them. They didn't, the four didn't care. And the Sumners were just begging. They were just begging, look, what more do you want? What do you want? Just take it. So Michael comes up to Carol and strips everything off her, every bit of jewellery, every chain, all rings, everything. Same with Reggie, takes everything off him. And then once they've done that, they throw them both into this grave. And while they're in there, they automatically join each other and hug each other. And it said that Carol was kind of behind Reggie, just holding him. They're praying, they're crying, they're begging. So at this point, Reggie's going, anything you want. What more can I give you? So Michael's like, I want all your PIN numbers, I want all your information. So Reggie gives him everything. And when there was nothing more to give. Now, originally the plan was, supposedly anyway, the plan was to get it to this point and then put the fear of God in these pair so they wouldn't talk, and then just leave them there. But no, they decided no. We can't leave these two alive. We can't do it. So then they bury them alive. I don't know how else to word it. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to word it. But that's what they do. With Carol holding on to Reggie, and while they're praying and crying and begging, these four pick up the shovels and they start putting the dirt. Now, apparently it took hours to refill that grave. Hours. Which means that they're throwing the dirt on top of Reggie and Carol for hours while they're begging for their lives, while they're crying, while they're praying. I as the dirt was building up, of course, as it got to chest height, because they're on the floor. Obviously, they're on the floor, but it's building up. It's obviously getting harder and harder for them to breathe. So eventually, they start lifting their heads up to try and keep it above the soil. And all they did when they did that was continue to tip the dirt onto their faces. So they're inhaling the dirt in their mouths and their noses, and so once they had fully covered the grave, which is what it is, with dirt, Bruce would say he could still hear the Sumners. Oh my God, he could still hear them crying. He could still hear them gasping. He could still hear them kind of, when he's sobbing under the ground. And they just got in them cars and they drove off. And they left them to die. Okay. What do I say? What do I say? That there's people like this out there. 4 of them. The 3 lads didn't know them. No, there's no excuse there, don't get me wrong, but she knew them. They doted on this girl, from what I could gather. They genuinely did. And not only that, they were apparently the sweetest, kindest couple. And don't forget what Carol had been through. She got shot 6 times. She contracted hepatitis C, which wasn't spotted after the blood transfusion, so much so that it then went into become liver cancer because it wasn't spotted. She finally meets the love of her life, I suppose, again. They meet each other again. Same for Reggie. And they get, 4 years? 4 years together? Before these people who because they didn't want to work themselves. Because they didn't want to, go and earn their own money. Because for kicks, what was it? Oh, God. So straight afterwards, they dumped, obviously, the Sumner's car, which was obviously found just after Rhonda reports them missing. And then, do you want to know what they did? Do you want to know what this foursome did? They didn't go into hiding. They didn't kind of go and console each other because they were so devastated over what they'd just seen and what they'd just done. No, they went on a spending spree. They went shopping. They went and there's actual photos, by the way, of her leaning back like this, drinking champagne in a limo. Him leaning, with wads of cash. They went straight after they dropped their car off. They went straight to a cash point, withdrew £1,000, £1,000, and just started spending. Just started living it up, they did. Got that motel, laptops, just living their best life. How? It took hours to bury this couple. And when you left, yes, the surnames, bear with me. When they left, they literally could still hear them crying, and they left them. And then they go and live it. Okay. Right. I've been asked for their names again, but I will be giving you them again now because when the autopsy was done, the actual cause of death was buried alive because the dirt went into their mouth, nose, throat, into their lungs, into their stomach. They inhaled it non-stop. They were just alive for everything. And then, so Bruce Nixon, do you remember I said at the very beginning that when Tiffany Cole was brought in, that she gave the name of Bruce Nixon, like, hang on a minute, there's one more. Don't just let us three go down for it. There's one more. She didn't realise that it was Bruce that was going to blow it all out the water. And Bruce not only told them everything that had happened from beginning to end, that's how we know as many details as we do, because Bruce was quite happy. Not quite happy, but, you know, he wanted to tell everything. He then took the police to the gravesite. Oh God! And when they removed the dirt from the grave, from the hole, there was Carol still wrapped with her arms round Reggie, and that's how they died. Oh my God! So when Bruce took them to the gravesite, obviously don't forget the other three. So we got Tiffany Cole, we got Michael. I keep calling him Michael Jackson, but I barely give you his whole name. Michael James Jackson, Tiffany Cole, and Alan Wade. They're not 100% sure that the police know everything. They don't know this. So when Michael is on the phone to his nan, his nan tells him that the information's been released. It's on the news that they found the gravesite and sorry. And then Bruce, I don't know, would they have released his name and said it was Bruce that said it? I don't think that'd be on the news, but they must have known who started singing like a canary, if that's the saying. And you can actually hear the phone call where, I mean, the nan, this is Michael's nan now. Now, bearing in mind, she knows what her grandson's done because it's all over the news. She knows he's done it. And in the phone call, she's like, yeah, they found the grave. And he's like, what? She's like, yeah, he told them everything. And obviously, Michael's swearing down the phone, and she goes, Are you sure? Are you sure they know? And she was like, yeah, they know everything. And as he's swearing, she's like, oh no, yes, dear. And then he actually says, he has the audacity to say, our lives are over now. He actually said, or he's killed us now. And she's like, yes, dear. And when I'm listening to it, I'm like, is she being funny, or is it she just trying to cover up for it? Because I thought, if this is your nan and she's like, yeah, they've ratted you out, I just thought, oh my God, kid didn't stand a chance if this is his nan. So we get to bear with me, I've got myself all in a mess here. Okay, so that's what he said. Michael says he's killed us all. So we get to the sentencing of these. Bruce Nixon, because obviously he not only told the police everything, he took a plea deal. And so he got 45 years, he did, Bruce. The other three, Tiffany Cole, Michael James Jackson, better say it all. And Alan Wade, do you want to know what they got? Are you ready? Do you remember what I've said about the American justice system? I wish I was a cheerleader. They got the death sentence. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know what your opinion is on the death penalty. After hearing this story, if you don't agree that they deserve the death penalty, then what more can I say? What can I say? What can I say? But I don't know who Dawson is. I don't know who Bruce Dawson is. Oh, okay, right. I'm getting thrown off. Yes, they all got the death penalty. I was very pleased. But she, at the time, old Tiffany Cole, she was the youngest woman on death row. I don't think just in Florida either. I think in the States, I think she's the youngest woman on death row. But she, what's happened is the American Senate, I think it would be, or the Supreme Court, I'm not too sure. Anyway, they've decided that it's unconstitutional, you know, with their constitution and stuff. They've decided that it's unconstitutional for a death penalty or death sentence to be issued unless it's unanimous from the jury. And in all three of their cases, it wasn't unanimous. So, as it stands at the moment, they're all appealing their death sentence, death penalty. They're all appealing it. So I don't know if it's going to get changed to life in prison. I genuinely don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping it stays as it is. I'm hoping they'll say that it's heinous and horrific, and they don't deserve to live any longer than it takes to go down your death row or whatever else. But I don't know. So, you know, obviously I'll update the story if and when I hear if the appeals have gone through or anything. But as it stands, I believe that all three are still on death row. And yes, but they are all appealing it because of this change to the law. And in Florida, it didn't need to be unanimous for a death sentence to be issued. But it can be done is it retroactively or retrospectively? They can change it. So I don't know. I hope not. Because this story was just horrific. It was just awful to do. I didn't think until I got to that part it would be as hard to say as it was. But I think just at that moment, just imagining, you can't even really imagine, can you? But imagine opening your door to a young girl and thinking, you know, you've helped her. I mean, you would have thought that the help they gave her, that as they were getting older, she'd be there maybe to help them, you know, maybe in time, you know, that Rhonda wasn't living in the same state or anything else, you know, so she could have been there to help them. But no. They just wanted something for nothing. And then I just think about Rhonda and Reggie talking about their money and what they've got, and that must have just been just how trusting this couple were. And I suppose I'd just say, if ever you come into money, for God's sake, don't ever tell anyone. Keep it to yourself. Don't even tell your husband. Keep it to yourself. No one needs to know. But yeah, that was the betrayal of Carol and Reggie Sumner. And yeah, that was a long one. I'm sorry, everyone, it took so long. I got thrown off a couple of times, so I'm really, really sorry. It's not you, it's me. It's me. I've really got to learn to get through this. I don't know what happened with my screen, But I just want to thank you all for sticking with me and keeping it interactive. And yes, money is the root of all evil. Let me have a quick look at my my comments now. Phil, I really hope they do uphold the original decision. I really do. I really do. I think anyone hearing that case and not just skirting over it, but really, really listening to the ins and out of that case, I think to not uphold it, I think it'd just be terrible. Thank you so much, Tiff. Thank you again, and thank you for updating it. Billa Playboys YouTube, is it? Right. I haven't read all of yours. Yeah, they couldn't fight back, which is terrible. I did mention the surnames on there. Did you say you did it to a kid in your car? I'll have to have a look through that. But thank you all for staying with me through all the messing about and everything else. I really do appreciate it. Hayley, thank you, and Phil, Tiff, everyone, thank you so much. I really do, really appreciate it. You might, what do you call it? What do you call it? My top ones, my top people. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? You are my day ones. No, that's. Oh, I'm glad I didn't say that word while I was about to say. I can't think of the word, but what I'm trying to say is thank you so much. I really do, and I really enjoy doing this. I genuinely do. I know I go off. I'm gonna try and bring them in shorter because I know it's taking up majority of your evening. So I'm gonna try and condense it a bit more and not get so sidetracked and everything else. Phil, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. We are YouTube fans is what we are. Yes, you are. You're my YouTube fans. I'm not gonna do my my jingle at the end. Like, comment, subscribe. I still think it's good, Tiff. I think I should be able to do it. I do. I think we should bring that back. I think the like, comment, surprise. I think it should come back. Maybe inner circle. Phil's got it. You're my inner circle. Yes. That's what we're going to call it. And yes, Tiffany, I think my jingle needs to come back. Phil, I don't know if you were around when I was doing my jingle, but I think you'd agree it's got to come back. It was good. It was good. It's like this. Look, comments. Anyway. Do you know what? One time she won't be on the live and I'll be able to do it. Okay. No dance. Okay, all right. What about just a like, comment? Oh, you can't like, comment, subscribe without the dance, though. Yeah. Don't look away, Phil. Don't look away. It's how it. That's the dance. Okay. Right. Thank you again so much for all joining me. I think I've thanked you 1,000 times, but I do genuinely mean it, and I do appreciate it. Anyone watching after the fact, tomorrow or whenever you're watching it, thank you for sticking around through all my rambling, all my erring and everything else. You'll just have to join me on the live next time, and then you won't have to do this after. You can actually comment at the same time. And yeah, I'm going to see you all soon. Thank you to my moderator for doing that, but stopping me doing my dance, I don't know, but you know. And yeah, I will see you all soon, and I'm gonna try and go out with it as much dignity as I possibly can in trying to log out without just looking frozen as I do it. So I'm gonna go now. I hope you all have a fantastic evening, and I will see you all same time next week, 8 o'clock. Bye bye.